Welcome to the Justice and Government Project. The big idea behind the JGP is simple. Many government programs that help low-income and underserved people work better when they include legal aid. Government programs like those aimed at expanding opportunities for education, employment, housing, healthcare, family stability, and public safety are more effective and efficient when legal services are added to the mix of social services. The JGP works with state and local officials and their civil justice partners to leverage civil legal aid to achieve policy goals and get better results for the people they help. Our online toolkit is a space where emergent research, funding resources, and effective partnerships and practices come together. In this video, we describe its tools, how to use them, and where to find them. From the Justice and Government Project homepage, you can navigate to the JGP About page or our toolkit. You can also sign up for JGP and the National Legal Aid and Defender Association's co-authored newsletter, Just Research. The About page explains how the JGP started, what JGP does to advance its good government mission, and why civil legal aid should matter to government policymakers. The JGP Toolkit is the heart of the Justice and Government Project website. In it, you'll find an array of resources, including in-depth research and information about state-administered federal funding opportunities for civil legal aid and often court and social service provider partners. The Justice and Government Project Toolkit has 4 purposes. First, it serves up curated and bite-sized research findings that provide the evidence base for using legal aid to further specific policy and program goals. Second, it provides information about state-administered federal pass-through funds that can be tapped to address people's civil legal needs for legal aid. Third, it helps Toolkit users to think how to put those civil legal needs on policymakers' agendas. Finally, it gives examples of states that are using those already appropriated federal pass-through funds to advance their policy priorities. Let's take a look at the 4 modules of the JGP Toolkit. Module 1 is our repository of reliable research about civil legal aid, including over 15 research briefs on topics like how legal aid helps break the cycle of domestic violence, improves health, and gets better housing outcomes. You can also access every edition of our Just Research newsletter, co-authored with NLADA. Module 2 contains what you need to know about funding civil legal aid through block, formula, and open-ended reimbursement grants. Here, you'll find our featured grants matrix with its high-level overview of each funding source and hyperlinks to drill down for more information. You will also find our grants forecasting guide and our growing list of grants-specific FAQs. Module 3 illustrates the myriad ways policymakers have leveraged existing resources to integrate civil legal aid into policy and program goals. There, you'll find case studies and examples organized by issue area and funding source. Module 4 is home to a potpourri of tools for researching, funding, and advocating for civil legal aid in various policy arenas, including our COVID-19 resources. Our toolkit has other helpful resources, including our JGP publications, webinars, and media page, and other timely resources for addressing and funding a civil legal response to an array of policy issues. Now that you have the big picture, let's walk through an example of how you can use the toolkit. Let's say you want to create a statewide legal aid network for survivors of domestic violence. Module 1 has the curated research findings you need to show why legal aid is necessary to assist survivors. You'll get findings like 83% of victims represented by an attorney successfully obtain a protective order, as compared to just 32% of victims without an attorney, and the citation. You'll also see our July 2020 Just Research newsletter on domestic violence, which provides a condensed version of the collected research and bite-sized findings. You'll also find other data and funding resources. Now that you can show that studies tell us legal aid is a key partner in assisting survivors of violence, you'll want to know how these services can be funded. To learn about using federal funds to support legal aid in your state, go to Module 2, starting with the Funding by Issue cheat sheet or the Grants Matrix at a Glance sheet. You'll find that VOCA, TANF, STOP grants, and other funding sources allow for legal aid services for survivors. To read more in-depth guidance, identify legal aid funding language, and locate your state's administrator, find these funding sources in the Grants Matrix. As your last stop in Module 2, check out our in-depth FAQs on legal aid and VOCA and another about legal aid and TANF. So how do you use that research and funding information? You'll find help with that in Module 3 through a collection of case studies and sample materials used in state advocacy efforts. You'll learn that Arizona's TANF-funded Domestic Violence Legal Assistance Project has provided legal help to more than 125,000 survivors through a network of volunteer attorneys. You'll understand how STOP funds can be used to enhance remote services for survivors and support court technology innovations. You'll also find case studies about 6 states that have launched statewide VOCA-funded legal aid programs, how they did it, and their top tips. Now that you know that a statewide legal aid network for survivors is possible, Module 4 and our other pages offer additional data, model advocacy for survivors, and publications and webinars featuring the Justice and Government Project to guide you in this policy area and others.
So that's the way we've tied it together in Pennsylvania, that each of our programs work.
Looking at how we can do better, frankly.
Legal services are essential for government programs to achieve a wide range of goals and work towards a more prosperous, equitable, and just society for all. The Justice and Government Project works with state and local officials and their partners to this end, helping them reach their established goals and objectives with existing resources. If you have any questions, need technical assistance, or would like to suggest additions to this toolkit, contact the JGP Director, Karen Lash, or our research team at the Justice and Government Project.